Hey there guys and gals. So, for today's training video, tutorial video, not sure how to explain it yet, we're going to be talking about the different types of controllers. Now, this isn't talking about different console types of controllers, I mean the actual different types of controller that you can buy. So, I usually write them in three classes. So, class number one is your standard controller. So these are the controllers made generally by the company that owns the system you're buying controllers for. Occasionally I will include third-party, which the term third-party means it's not made by the original company. Controllers, if their sole purpose is just to be another controller, no extra features. So if it lights up, I don't count that. That's still standard. Secondary controllers, I call these ones tactical controllers. So these are controllers that are designed to actually do things with you, to help yourself be better at a game. An example of this is a controller that has dials on the control sticks. The reason for the dials on a control stick is to tighten or loosen them to get increased sensitivity or loosened sensitivity. Those generally mainly affect games like shooters. So as an example, if you're playing a shooting game and you have a sniper rifle and you're looking way downfield, you may want to actually make sure that you can be more precise. So by putting more resistance and tightening the control sticks, you have more control of that. Whereas if you loosen it and you're running around with, let's say, a light machine gun or a weapon that you're firing a lot of bullets, a bullet hose as it may be, you might want it loose so you can spin and turn quickly to look at multiple different types of targets. So those are tactical controller features. Another one would be having separate buttons that you can hot map. Hot mapping means you can make these extra buttons be whatever you want. A lot of shooting games will have your sprinting locked to pressing down one of the control sticks like a button, which for some people can be a bit awkward. Or they'll have knifing on the other control stick. So now, by having these extra buttons hot mapped to that, instead of having to click down those control sticks and use them as buttons, you can actually make use of them through the other buttons that are spares. I actually have an example right here. So this is a gaming controller, and what this is it has extra features. So most Xbox controllers have your two triggers and two bumpers. As you can see, this controller actually has two more bumpers up top here. So those are hot mappable bumpers. I can make those whatever I want. So like I was saying earlier, usually you press down on this button here, and so as you can see, this is a control stick, you can move it around, but you can actually use it as a button as well. And that's how you run. On the other side, this is how you would use your knife. So instead of having to do that all the time, you can now use these extra bumpers for your running and your knifing. And that can save you a lot of time. It can make you better at your game. It's not doing anything for you, which is why I personally like that kind of controller, not the next type I'm going to explain, but it is allowing you to better yourself. So, putting this guy away, we go to the third type of controller. Now, these controllers are given many different names. My personal reference is that because that controller type doesn't do anything for you, it just helps you do things better, that is what I would call a tactical controller. The term modded controllers refers to anything that is a controller that has features you wouldn't find in the standard controller. In my opinion, I prefer to use the term modded controllers only for controllers that do things for you. So they're doing features or they're giving you features or abilities that you would not be able to do normally. So an example of this, and one of the most popular ones, is a rapid fire controller. A rapid fire controller is a controller that allows you to turn up the sensitivity or the fire rate. So as an example, if you're playing a shooting game, once again, because these are what they're used in most often, that has a automatic pistol, so a pistol that will fire as fast as you can click the trigger. A rapid fire controller will actually allow you to have it that one click on the trigger fires 8 shots. Now this is where I have a personal problem with it. I grew up on older games that didn't allow for kind of stuff like this because the systems couldn't handle it. And so I'm probably cheesy, or a lot of people won't agree with this, but I find it's more honorable way of fighting. When I played GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64, there weren't even the thought of like, oh, I'm going to find a controller that's going to let me, shoot 8 shots out at once so that I can hit you and guarantee you're done, or I don't need to aim as carefully because I can just aim towards you and fire and it's going to hit you with a few shots. Whereas nowadays, with the games being the way they are and being extremely competitive, every advantage is something a lot of people want. So now you have a gun that can fire 10 shots in a clip before you have to reload it, and you can fire all of those in a second or two. All you have to do is look in their general direction and click, and you're likely going to hit them with something. And if you aimed at them, you're guaranteed to kill them. If they don't have that controller, they don't have that same ability, which is why I'm not a fan of it. Another example would be in the Gears of War franchise. There's some controls you can get for that game that has what's called an active reload button. One of the cooler features, even though I'm not a fan of Gears of War, was the reloading system, is that when you're reloading your gun in the game, there's a little, almost like a mini game where you have to time your button presses, and if you time it appropriately, you do more damage with your next shot. If you don't time it appropriately, your gun jams for a moment and it slows you down. what these some controllers had was an active reload button that would guarantee you every single time you did it, you would do more damage. Which, in the single-player side of things, when you're up against computer characters and you're not playing against other people, I don't really personally have a problem with. But when you're playing against other people and you now have this big advantage that you can keep getting the reload perfect each time and you're going to do more damage, I found that was, like I said, less honorable. I didn't like that. People can do it, and that's their choice. They bought the controller. But when they're using it against someone else that doesn't have that ability or doesn't want to use that ability, I do think it's a bit unfair. One other feature is what's called drop shotting. There are buttons that'll allow you to do that. Drop shotting is where, let's say, I'm walking down a hallway, someone comes around the corner at the other end of the hallway. I want to stop them from hitting me, so I want to create a low profile. I want to make sure that there's less of me to shoot. So I would drop down to my stomach, aim at them, and start firing. And if they were going to shoot at me right away, they're going to shoot towards my chest. If I'm on the ground, they're going to miss me. That takes a moment to do. Controllers with a drop shot button tend, from what I've seen at least, to drop you to the ground and fire at the same time. So they're making you do two things at once. You couldn't do that naturally and make it work. So now all people with these controllers have to do is round the corner, and if they see you, look at you and press that button, their character will automatically go to laying down and fire, which gives them a huge advantage, and generally an unfair advantage, because a regular person will not be able to do that at that speed and accuracy. Now all they have to do is look at you and press one button, and they're going to be on the ground firing before you can aim and fire at them. And I found that was very unfair, and I went up against that a lot. I'm not particularly good at games. I'm willing to admit this when it comes to shooters, especially things like Call of Duty where it's so competitive. I die a lot, and there are times, many times of course, when it's my own fault and I'm just not good enough. But there have been situations where me and my friends have noticed people just instantly doing things they shouldn't be able to do. And these controllers are my opinion of what's causing that for the most part. There are people out there that are very, very skilled, and I will give them the fact that they're capable of doing this kind of thing. But the amount of times it happens to people like my friends who are better than I am when it comes to these shooting games leads me to believe that these modded controllers with these features that do things for you are, the leading the cause of why my friends and I are dying. But in the end, there are different types of controllers for a reason. Standard controllers, which are the ones made by the manufacturer, the guy who makes the system that you're buying them for, as well as the third-party ones that give you just a neat controller. Maybe it's wireless or wired, maybe it lights up, or it has a cool visual feature effect to it. Then you have what I would call the tactical controllers that allow you to do things better but aren't doing anything for you. And then you have the modded controllers that give you features that you wouldn't normally get or do things for you, like dropping down and shooting at once. These controllers come at varying prices, anywhere from generally with the current generations of about $49 for the wired made by the company to $69 for the made by the company with an extra color or feature or something like that. For the third-party controllers that are regular, usually from $29, $19 up to $49. And generally, when you're looking at the modded controllers that do things for you or look really fancy or give you really specific features like the rapid fire, the drop shot, the active reload, then you're looking at controllers that are generally $59 and up to even over $100 depending on the features and the company making it. A bigger company is going to charge a bit more because they're well known. They know you're known to make better devices generally. That's not always true, but it can hold true to some degrees. That's about it for this training video. I'm sure it ran a bit long, but that's because this topic takes a bit more time to explain, to go through the different sections. Hopefully if you were looking to learn something you have, and if not, maybe I'll have another video that teaches you something else better. Take care.